I've got to manage myself, I've got to manage my mind. The task is not easy, but to high heights I climb.
I'm determined to succeed, so no excuses, please. If you don't want success in life, then don't hinder me. Yes, let the whole world know you are a CEO. You are a CEO. I'm a CEO. You are a CEO. I'm a CEO. The time is here to celebrate. You are a CEO. You are a CEO. You are a CEO. You are a CEO. Yes, let the whole world know. The time is here to celebrate. Yes, it's calling, so don't be late. You are a CEO.
Hello, everyone. Michael E. Parker, and we are here in studio at CEO TV Live. And as promised, we have a special show tonight, and it's all about surviving COVID-19. Now, I know that everyone has heard of COVID-19 at this point. This is a worldwide pandemic, and I wanted to dedicate this show to us learning more about what is happening and beginning to prepare for how do we move forward in such a very, very critical time and moment in history. Now, just to step back for a minute, many of you, as you can see here on the screen, when we think about COVID-19, we're talking about the coronavirus, and this little image of this virus has just been something that has been haunting all of us, thinking about how we don't want to come in contact with this and this virus being able to attach to our lungs and create all kinds of problems. And although many people have survived it and more have survived it than has died from it, one death is too many. And so this is, again, something we've all been dealing with, and we really want to understand more about it. Now, we all remember, as you can see here, that when we heard about sheltering in place, we had no idea that it would go from weeks to months, and even the time that we would begin to step away from society and really be feeling like we're kind of locked in, kind of prisoners in our own homes. But this has been something that we've all had to do, all had to deal with, and learning how to, I know some of us, you look online and people are creating games that, you would never think would be a game, but you be home so much, you're getting stir crazy. This is, again, what we've seen. And then we all begin to learn about wearing masks and how do we begin to go back out into society and prevent this virus from getting to us. And so we started learning and hearing about the importance of wearing masks. There's been a lot of disputes and controversy about masks. So this is another important element. Then we also begin to hear more about testing. And so whether you were going in, and we've heard different stories about getting this swab and really understanding, and there's even been where you can drive up and test, and we've been hearing and seeing this happening all over the world. And so you can see we're living in a world that has changed. COVID-19, in just a matter of months, has changed everything. And tonight, we get to have a special discussion with someone that has been on the front lines and is on the front lines, a good friend of mine, Elizabeth Mancuso. And I had time to talk with her earlier today, and I want to share with you this wonderful discussion. And I want to tell you now, get your notepad ready and listen closely. There'll be so many insights you will gain. And so at this time, we're going to go to this wonderful interview, and then I'll be back to give you some final remarks and tell you about our next show. Hello, everyone. Michael E. Parker, and I am here in studio with Miss Elizabeth Mancuso, a good friend of mine, and I'm so happy to have her here, and we're going to have some fun tonight. Elizabeth, welcome.
Thank you.
Listen, there is so much that I've witnessed you do. We've done work together in the community. I've seen you help people that I know. I mean, we share a same church family. There's just so many different things. And then we've known each other for years. You've known my wife. I've known your husband. And But watching you go into this career path of becoming a registered nurse and a nurse practitioner, I never thought you would be in the middle of a pandemic with these skills that you've gained. And I want to talk about that because it's just ironic how you ended up in this industry for such a time like this. But before we go into that, tell all of us a little bit about what you do as a registered nurse and a nurse practitioner.
Okay, so as a registered nurse, which I've been for about 10 years, the role of the registered nurse is to assist the patient. You intervene when necessary. You take orders from the doctors. You do the things to help keep the patient alive and keep them stable. You also communicate with other interdisciplinary and members of the team. So it's a really critical role because the registered nurse is the person that, when you're hospitalized, that consistently stays with the patient pretty much the whole shift. So that's the central location that you would go to if you want to get information about a patient.
Okay.
You spend the majority of the time with the patient. The doctors come talk to you, physical therapy, everyone talks to you, family wants to know what's going on because you're the link to connect the family and the patient to medicine. So you could have a patient that has some particular condition, but what does that really mean?
Right.
And so the registered nurse is the one that really kind of breaks that down and puts it into an understandable language for the
Right.
patient and their family.
Wow. So you're intimately involved in the
Really?
role. I mean,
Yeah.
between the doctor, the patient. Now, but help me understand, distinguish a little bit for me the difference between a registered nurse and a nurse practitioner.
So a nurse practitioner is an advanced practice.
Okay.
So you're required to go back to school and get a master's degree. What it does, to put it simply, is you take what you've learned as a registered nurse, and now you have to add more onto that. So now you have to be able to manage that patient on your own and feel confident saying like, okay, well, they're on this medication, maybe this should be changed. You have to assess, you have to take labs. There's things that you need to do for the whole body of the patient to keep them healthy.
Right.
And you basically are managing the patient
Wow.
by yourself.
Wow.
And so it's important that you are aware of like different disease processes so you can have some sort of foundation to know what to treat,
Right.
when to treat, what to assess for, and just kind of when to intervene, because it's not always necessary.
Yeah, well, it sounds like the type of skills you need for COVID-19 is what it sounds like. But I mean, before we go into COVID-19, just because, you know, here at COTV, we always like to talk about success in many forms, people making career choices. I know there's a lot of people out there, even young people trying to find their way, what they want to do. What do you think in terms of just this type of career where it's a career that you could end up supporting a pandemic or something where, you know, the Center of Disease Control is saying, hey, everything's out of control and you've got to be willing in this profession to almost handle whatever might come up. Tell me a little bit about how that feels. I mean, do you ever sometimes feel like, am I in the wrong profession here in the middle of a pandemic? Or do you feel like, wow, this is what I signed up for? What does that feel like?
To be honest, I think when COVID first came around, I was a little bit afraid because we all saw the video clips from China. We saw things like that. People were falling dead. And
Yeah.
So, and I think when it first came, it was just like, it was something we didn't know about.
Right.
So of course, it's something that you have a little bit of fear.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling like, you know, is tomorrow going to be the day that they give me a COVID patient? And this is the first time in my entire life, even as a human being, knowing about a disease that no one knows about.
Right.
So that was really uncomfortable.
Right.
And then to go into work one day and they say, oh, you have to take COVID patients. That to me is really difficult because we don't have all the information about it. We don't know from the beginning, from March, this is when it hit for us. We knew about it. We had a little information, but we didn't have the whole picture.
Right.
And generally, infectious disease doctors and nurses, those are the people we turn to say, hey, how do we deal with this? They didn't even know. So to deal with something like this and try and protect someone else, not knowing how you'll protect yourself,
Right.
that's really kind of traumatic.
Yeah.
But I never felt like it wasn't a job I didn't want to do.
Right.
I just wanted to learn more. And my advanced practice degree as a nurse practitioner,
Right.
that they taught me how to research medical journals and figure things out.
Right.
So we're all learning along the way.
So let me ask you something about that. You're kind of touching on something that I want to get into is just, working in this industry in the midst of this pandemic. I mean, you've been on the front line, you've been in this environment, and when you think about science is supposed to be based on fact and truth.
Right.
It's supposed to be things that we can actually back up through fact, through research, through study. And so, what is it like working in this industry, in this environment with something that science hasn't really got a hold of yet? There's not enough fact, there's not enough truth, there's not enough foundation, and your whole industry is built on A plus B equals C. You get these symptoms, you get this medicine, this is the response the body will have. What is it like? I mean, you're kind of touching on it, but give me a little bit more about just working in this industry in such a uncharted, confusing time.
It's unsettling. It really is. When it first hit, many of us in the hospital weren't sure about how we should prepare ourselves. We had a dispute with administration about even if we could wear a mask. And so that was a big deal, and our union eventually was able to allow us to wear masks. Now everyone in the
thank
hospital,
God, yeah.
because everyone in the hospital now wear masks, because even if the patient didn't infect us, what if someone brought it in from outside and it was community spread in the hospital?
Right.
So now we have that ability. But it was really, to be honest, it was a little bit fearful because no one knew anything about it. And like I said, the infectious control doctors, those are the ones that are supposed to be the experts, and the experts didn't know. So we all started to learn together, and we all started to figure out like where other people failed, like what can we do differently.
Right.
So some of the early interventions that they used, those proved to be ineffective in New York. And unfortunately for New York, they were able to help us in California see, maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe these patients shouldn't all be vented. So they made changes based upon that, and especially with the drugs. There were drugs that came out of China in the research that said they were effective, like I think it was remdesivir, but yet the other one was promoted, and that was promoted by the administration. But then they showed that that was not an effective drug based on the science.
Wow.
So it's really been unsettling because you are literally learning every day.
Right.
It's not normally like this, because you can look in a textbook, you can look at medical journals, and you can see, okay, this was back from 1988. They just studied this.
Right.
Everything on COVID is from November 2019 until today. So we're really talking, it's not even been a year. So there's gonna still be mistakes that are made.
Yeah.
And so it is a little bit unsettling still.
Yeah, well, let's talk about this, because if you all in the industry, are confused and not sure and still figuring it out, I mean, us civilians out here are we are just being thrown all over the place. And I want to talk a little bit about, and you're also a faithful member of CEO and believing in the principles that we teach. And we talk about being the seal of our health. We have to be the executive of our health. We have to protect our bodies, our nutrition, and all those things, which I know you believe in. And when you're trying to let's talk about how do we be the seal of our health right now with so much misinformation. We know what's going on with refined sugar. We know what's wrong with, eating wrong, or if we don't work out. We know about getting our heart rate up and things that we need to do, sleep. But this is an area where we want to be the seal of our health, and we almost don't know how. The news it's like a pendulum that swings every day. Wear a mask. You don't have to wear a mask. You can get it. You might not get it. Young people get it. Older people get it. Young people still get it. It just switches up every day. And then there's, wear a mask, do all this, and then your temperature is the main guide. Then you might not have a temperature. Then it's asymptomatic, which I know we talk about sometimes, pre-symptomatic and asymptomatic. It's just so much. So how do we be the seal of our health in such a environment like this for everyday people?
So first off, I don't watch the news. And the reason why I don't watch the news in regards to COVID is because they don't have all the facts. The news is only reporting what they want to report. They're not ever talking about prevention strategies. I feel like the news from the beginning has been promoting fear. So what I decided to do was, push up against that and just educate myself. So this whole time since COVID started, all I've been doing is reading medical journals to figure out, okay, what's going on. I don't read just some random article. I read, articles that are actually studied and scientific, validated articles. And it gives me the information I need to make a better educated decision. One thing we do know is that it's spread from person to person. So everyday people can practice social distancing. And even if there's times when you want to do something like even, on holidays or Mother's Day, those are the times you have to ask yourself, is this really worth the risk of me getting COVID? Could this be the time I get COVID?
Right.
And if it's not, then I wouldn't do it. And so those are small little risk strategies that I use and that we all use in the hospital. And we have committed ourselves, even us in the hospital, to not have gatherings with ourselves, with our family members. We're all committed to not doing that until we get a vaccine. And yeah, it's difficult. One coworker was just telling me yesterday, it's hard, my kid just graduated and we can't do anything. But that's the way it is. And we just have to make it work until, till this is over, because we're not.
Well, see, and I don't mean to cut you off, but when you talk about being in a hospital, I think there's so much to learn from you all, because you're in an environment where COVID-19 is in the building and you all are able to keep it under control. So whatever you're doing is what I want to be doing to protect my family and the people around me that I love and care about, because some people are guessing who has, but you all are going to an environment where some people have it and you're protecting yourself. So let's talk about the mask and the sanitizer and temperature. We got some stuff even here with us. Let's talk a little bit about this, some principal things that you feel, no matter what the news is saying, we need to be CEOs of to get through this pandemic.
Okay, so as far as the hospital is concerned, when you know you have a positive patient, there's a specific mask that you wear, it's an N95. For me, the ones that we have in our hospital don't work. So fortunately for me, I don't have to go into that room unless I wear a PAPR, which is like a device. It's like a space device you put over your head.
What's a PAPR? Is that the?
It's a hood you put over your head, and then at the bottom of it, it has like its own air purifier.
Yeah, I think it's serious. It's like you can walk on the moon or something.
You can. Yeah. And you don't get any fog in there or anything. You're just kind of breathing. You're your own ventilation system, if you will. So that's what we use, and it's proven to be effective, because COVID is similar to tuberculosis. It's an airborne illness.
Right.
So that's how you prevent yourself. Because what happens is when the patient coughs or sneezes, small particles are transmitted from them to someone else. And you get it by just kind of inhaling and breathing. So by wearing the mask, you're preventing that. As far as the community is concerned, you don't know who has COVID.
Right.
So to me, what I usually do is I just suspect everyone has it. And so when I go places, I try not to be near anyone at all, because if I am away from someone, even if they have COVID, my chances of transmission is low, because I'm committed to staying away from people.
Right.
I don't even want to talk to anyone. If someone comes near me, then I'm almost antisocial, because they could have COVID, and I don't want to be friendly and catch COVID.
Right.
So
you're probably even more heightened because you deal with it every day, right? So you're like level 10 probably.
I really am. So I just kind of stay away from people. Doing that is really helpful. And there's people that I care about too that I would love to be in a group setting with them, but I don't do it, because I know that if I do that, that's a huge risk for COVID. There's current patients now that are hospitalized because they thought it was a good idea to go to a family function of 25 people and someone happened to come there with COVID. So to me, even family, we've already discussed it at work, family is even kind of risky, because you don't know where your family members' risk factors are. You don't know what they're doing. You don't follow them all the time. They can say, oh yeah, I've been careful, but they could wear their mask a certain way or not wear a mask.
Right.
So you're putting yourself at risk.
So let's talk about masks for a minute.
So that's one, separation, social distancing.
Separation, and then with family, you tend to let your guard down too,
totally do.
the hug or whatever, and then it can get you. So let's talk about masks for a minute, because you educated me on something recently about even how to pick your mask up and how to take it off. Can you demonstrate and say a little bit about proper mask management?
Yes. So this is a disposable mask. This is new. So it doesn't matter if you touch it on the front or what, it doesn't matter. But once you wear this mask, you are going into the environment, and then the front of the mask is contaminated. If you choose to wear this mask again, for example, if you're wearing a reusable one like yours, you have to not touch the front, because you're contaminating yourself by touching the front. You want to grab the sides and you want to put it on. Do you want me to?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
People want to know.
So if I had reused this mask, I would just grab it by the sides. I would probably keep it closed that way with the blue folded inward because it's contaminated, right? That's what I would probably do. And maybe put it in a bag. When I take it out, I'll grab it by the little strings, and then I'll just put it on like this. Oops. Put it on like this, and then put this side on, and then you just kind of make sure it's sealed. Even yesterday, I would just move it up from the slides, the little strings. I didn't touch the front to move it up. Because when you talk, it will move.
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of be cautious. And then when you take it off, you just kind of do it the same way.
Right.
And then what a lot of us do, when we put it down face up because that's the area you don't want to touch.
Right.
And so just always being mindful of what you're doing with your hands. When I go to the store, if I have to touch a door or something, I always remember, okay, this right hand is contaminated. So if I touch something in my purse or I touch my daughter or my son, I use the left hand. And I remind myself, okay, the right hand's contaminated, Elizabeth, don't touch it. So I really get it down to like really a lot of details.
Yeah, that's pretty serious.
Yeah, and then...
So even with me, like I've got different types of masks, and I've got this one, and I just be grabbing it, throwing it in the car, and I'm seeing that I need to be more cautious of not touching the front of this, using the sides, same type of thing. And because there's different masks. I mean, some of them make you feel like an action hero, a superhero, something, and others are just like a nurse. But I think the principles are the same, and being able to be conscious that your mask is being impacted when you go out into the environment. So we tend to wear the mask, but not feel like there's anything else we need to worry about after we come home or in our car. So this is really good. So let's talk about another phase with the hand washing and sanitation. We've got some sanitizers here. We've got a wireless kind of temperature gauge that you can use here. How important are these things, and what do you recommend to people about this?
So these are important just as much as knowing what your heart rate is, and just as important as knowing like what your blood pressure is. You want to know your baseline temperature. So if we use this on you, you kind of have an idea of what your temperature should be. It doesn't hurt to just check your temperature every day. It takes, 5 seconds?
Right.
And you just kind of are aware of where you are. If there's any elevations that are abnormal, you know your body's fighting something. So that's really important, especially with COVID, because in the beginning we all heard that COVID a lot of people had high temperatures.
Right.
Some people don't. Even low-grade fevers could be indicative of COVID. So you could trend in like the 97s, but you could get a 99 and you could possibly have COVID.
Right, because that could be high for you.
Yeah, it could be high for you, and it's called a low-grade fever. But it's still indicative of something's going on with your body. As far as washing your hands, whenever I take off the mask, I commit myself to washing my hands. As soon as I hit the door, we have a sink at our garage door, I wash my hands. There's paper towels there, and I always wash my hands. Even in my car, I bought masks, disposable masks, that I can keep in my car, just in case I go somewhere and I forgot my mask. I keep another cloth one in my purse that I wash frequently because I never want to be somewhere and I don't have on my mask, because the mask protects others.
Right.
And then I feel more comfortable when I see other people wearing their mask too, and if I'm in an environment with them. I don't mind being around them if they have on a mask.
Right.
But the hand washing is equally important. And then, like you said, the thermometer. So those three things. If you social distance, wash your hands, wear your mask, and don't go in like big gatherings, obviously, you can pretty much reduce your risk of COVID transmission.
Right. Greatly, right?
Yeah. You can basically say you are not exposed.
Right.
Because it's all those things that people are not doing. If you just think of those 4 things, if people are not doing those, they're increasing their risk of COVID.
Right.
And a lot of people that decide to neglect those things are the ones that catch it.
Yeah. So let's talk about this just really quick. I know we got to wrap up here, but I want to get some insight from you on this last thing, and it kind of touches on what you're talking about. You talk about all the things we need to do. You talked about the ultimate safety conscious registered nurse practitioner mindset of I'm not taking no risk, right? And then you got the other extreme. There's people out there going to the beaches. There's people out there trying to get back into the restaurants, not wearing a mask at all. We've got a government and administration right now that's sending mixed signals, and not to take any political stance, but it is very clear that we do not have national leadership around a specific approach. So state to state, everything is changing. So how do we deal with COVID-19 and trying to survive this, where we want to get back to normal life, but we know we have to still take precautions? What do you say to people at home right now that are feeling like, I am tired of being home, I can't take it no more, I need to go do something? How do we find a balance? Because I know there are some things we can do, get out and walk and get some air, but then we still need to take precautions. Give me some final thoughts about this dilemma that we're in.
Well, it is hard because we're social creatures, right? And we want to be around other people. But the problem is that everything that's being disseminated is not right. So you have to ask yourself, do I want to endure this little situation? I know it's not little, I shouldn't have said that, but can I endure this?
Right.
And be a soldier in the COVID war? Because it really is a war. It's a matter of if the citizens will be willing to protect themselves and others so that we can start to flatten our curve. And it really requires a lot of restraint. You have to really, there's things that, I wanted to do too, but you can't do it right now. So you have to find alternative forms. So, we like going to the gym, right? My son likes playing basketball. He was just asking me yesterday, do you think I could go to the park and play basketball? I was like, you should really consider that. Is it worth the risk? Wow. And so it's like, you have to find ways to make it work. So, we've even started to work out outside, take weights outside.
Right.
You go running outside, you can go hiking. There's so many things that you can do. I know some people are even swimming now. As long as it's social distance, it's fine.
Right.
The gyms have reopened. I've decided not to go back to the gym because it's indoors and the ventilation I don't feel is going to be good for me. So I'd rather just work out outside like I have been doing for the last 3 months. It's basically, the word I've been using since COVID is adaptation. So can you adapt to the current situations right now?
Right.
And that's what I use when I try and teach the patients, even with my own children. Can you adapt?
Right.
Yeah, I know you don't like it, but can you adapt?
Right.
Can you find an alternative form for education? Can you find an alternative form for working out?
Yeah.
If you're someone that likes to go to a restaurant, can you eat outdoors at the restaurant?
Yeah.
And social distance, a lot of the servers wear masks. And now the fact that they opened the restaurants, they shouldn't have opened them and had people inside.
Yeah.
Because now they're closing them back down.
Right.
So maybe that was a bad decision.
Yeah.
So it's thinking outside of the box and being creative. What can I do to have an alternative form of this activity and still be happy?
Yeah.
So, maybe if I want to be with someone, maybe we can go outside somewhere and social distance. So that is decreasing our risk. We're not around a lot of people.
Yeah.
We're outside. There's adequate air, so that's fine. There's some people that go running together. As long as they're distance and it's just a few of them, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's just when you gather, what we're seeing is the gathering is what's causing the damage.
Yeah.
Because you guys are coming together and you're increasing all your risk factors together. And someone's going to get COVID, and then you're going to need help.
Yeah.
So
that was outstanding. I really appreciate you saying that, because I know there's a lot of people wanting to hear what you just said, and I feel like I want to thank you for everything that you shared on this show. It's going to help a lot of people, and I think we need the stamina to care for ourselves and our families. It's really not the stamina for COVID. It's the stamina for caring about ourselves and our family, because at the end of the day, I don't care how long it took. If I love you, you know what I mean? I'm not going to hurt you, even if it took 6 months, 9 months, because this is not about when do I get to have fun again. It's about we're under attack. And I know when, when you think about a war or a fight, I love, there's a real quote by Mike Tyson that is, to do with fighting, that's just very true. He said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And that's really true. Like, you can do all this training, you have a plan, but you get punched in your face, that plan goes out, and it's like, what am I about to do? Like, I got punched in the face, and my faculties, and we got punched in the face by COVID-19. And we've got to relook at things and realize that it's very real. So I just want to thank you for what you do in the industry every day. I thank you for the help you you've supplied to me and the community that a lot of the community that I love and care for. And, you know, I just wish that from here we can take a lot of these lessons and be the seal of our health and protect ourselves. And so any final thought you want to give before we go?
Yeah, I do like the word you use, stamina. And I think if we don't put a time limit on it, because I know like with the kids, a lot of them are asking, do you think we can go back to high school? Can we go back to school? It's easier, I believe, if you just tell yourself, no, we probably can't. We have to give ourselves 2 years. And I know that sounds bad, but I think it's easier to swallow to say, no, we can't do those activities. Let's modify it. Everything's with modifications at this time, right?
Right.
So if you tell yourself that, it almost makes it a little easier for you to accept. And when they do open things up, when you assess the risk and say, nope, I'll just keep doing what I have been doing because obviously it's effective because I don't have COVID.
Right.
I think that's what's going to really make the difference. Because it's when you say, oh, I want to have fun, I want to do this, I want to do that.
Right.
That's when people start taking risk. If you just commit to saying, I'm in this for 2 years,
Right.
whatever it takes to get through it to protect myself and family, then I think it'll make it easier and you can swallow it better and be happy in your
Wow.
current state.
Wow. So you're talking about mindset. So prepare for the worst and hope
Yeah.
for the best. And so let's hope it's not 2 years,
Yeah.
but we should be prepared for it
Just be
if we have
prepared.
to. Very well said. So I want to thank you so much and thank all of you that have been able to enjoy this segment. I'll be right back with some final thoughts and tell you about our next show. All right, everyone, as promised, I told you this was going to be a great discussion, and that was just remarkable. I just want to thank again Elizabeth Mancuso for giving of her time and her content and her experience to make this such a eye-opening show for all of us. And so make sure you listen to all those things that you heard, take it to heart, and let's get prepared to be the seal of our health, be the seal of this pandemic in terms of how we protect ourselves and our family. Now, having said that, we still have some exciting things that are happening this month, and I want to remind you what we've been talking about. As you can see right here, start today to run tomorrow. We've been talking about it, using the product, sharing links, especially for our affiliates out there, talking to people, finalizing your approach. This is for a lot of you out there that are getting ready for that wealth generation that we're going to be doing with you, our CEO. And we talked about this, and there's only 1 week left. And that is going to be an introduction to something special we're going to be doing with all of our affiliates. And so this is just another announcement to remind you that this is coming. We're 1 week away from some special things. Now, I want to tell you about our next affiliate webinar. Speaking of affiliates, we're going to be talking about this Wednesday, talking to the right people the right way. You don't want to miss this show. This is something, or this webinar, I should say, this is something that I know everyone wants to know that's an affiliate. How do I talk to the right people, number one, and then how do I talk to them the right way? So make sure you don't miss that. Make sure you register and you get access to this wonderful webinar. Now, last but not least, our next show. We're going to build on this wonderful show. We talked about COVID-19, what's going on in the hospital, in the community, and at home. Now we're going to talk about work-related pandemonium. Now, this is about all the pandemonium and confusion about getting back to work. Can I open? Can I close? Unemployment. How do we move back into the workforce? Working from home. There's been so much going on. We're going to talk about all of it. You don't want to miss it because this is the situation we're in now, and it's work-related. Until now and then, I want you to know that we look forward to seeing you next week, and make sure you get out there and let the whole world know that you are a CEO.
Yes, let the whole world know you are a CEO. You are a CEO. I'm a CEO. You are a CEO. I'm a CEO. The time is here to celebrate. CEO. You are a CEO.
you.